to another episode of Wine 101 on the Road. This episode is one in a series that we're doing down here in southern Arizona. We are in Elgin, Arizona, part of the Sonoyta AVA, and we are at the Rancho Rossa winery. It's in the row of wineries down on Elgin Street, right?
Elgin Road, yes.
Elgin Road. And I have the owners and basically the people that do it all here. I have Brianna and Chris Hamilton. So first of all, Brianna, tell me just a teeny bit about yourself and what you do here.
Well, I do the tasting room, and I do our wine club, and I do all the marketing kind of stuff. And then pretty much Chris does the rest, actually. He's like my one-man band.
I'm the plumber, the janitor, the winemaker, the owner, the grape guy. Whatever it takes, we get it done. Okay,
so you make the wines here, and I think you guys have a distinction of being one of the only, if not the only, 100% estate fruit winery here. So all the fruit or all the wines you're making are from your fruit.
That's correct. We've never purchased any fruit, never purchased any bulk wine. Everything that we make comes from the grapes that we grow.
So that way you get some flexibility, you get to grow what you want. And
it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. There are times when Mother Nature is very good to you and you get a bountiful crop and everything works well. Some years you have some poor weather where you might go from making 1,200 cases a year down to 100 cases a year.
Ouch.
And for us not being able to buy grapes or not choosing to buy grapes, we're at that mercy. So it fluctuates every year, but we're fine with that because we have the luxury of picking fruit when it's ready for us, not when the grower's ready. But we can walk out any day, look at the fruit, and if it's ready, we pick it when it's at its ripest, at its perfect condition, and it's best for the winemaker, not always best for the grape grower.
Well, that's kind of nice. That's very unique. So now you got started how? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I think I started making beer when I went to college at ASU. Worst beer I ever made was that first one. It was horrible. So shortly after making beer, I started making wine. And back then it came in a can, a concentrate, you put yeast in it, and it was just marginal. It was very marginal. But as the years progressed, the kits got better. And I continued to make beer, continued to make wine. Always loved wine. Never thought this would happen. Just the Napa Valley type stuff was just way out of line. And one year, previous wife of mine, we just drove down here to explore the wineries that were already here. When we came to the valley, regardless of winery, we thought it was such a unique area, we decided we were going to move down here no matter what, grapes or no grapes. And things just kind of progressed well. At one point, we found some property across the street. It was 300 acres. We took on that piece of property. We didn't even know we were going to do a vineyard at that time. We just know that we had 300 acres. We could sit there all alone and go camping and not hear anything but coyotes. It was kind of nice. And working for the airlines, you never know if you're going to have a job this week or next week.
Sure.
So it's always in the back of my mind to have an out, have something else to do, find something that I really enjoy doing and create a business around it. And we just thought about it, put numbers on paper, said, looks like a good deal. We were growing grapes in Cave Creek at that time, not for wine, just to see if we could grow them and see how well they did. And things progressed perfectly. We found this piece of property because we knew we couldn't put a piece of winery on the property across the street. This piece of property became available just months after we bought that piece of property. Perfect spot for the winery, the house. We dove in. We just did it. We just ordered grapes. We ordered 12 and a half acres worth of grapes the first year and planted and just went from there.
How did you determine what varietals you were going to use?
Hit or miss. Arizona is a very young area for growing grapes. There was only basically 2 vineyards at that time growing grapes here, and those grapes usually were planted in probably the 80s. And they were planted to probably what we would call generic clones. When we say Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, or Syrah, there's several different types of those grapes. There's probably 25 different types of Cabernet out there you can grow. Some for warm climates, some for cold climates, some for high yields, some for low yields. And to be honest, we really didn't know. But we knew we didn't want to be a huge winery, but we wanted to have good wines. So we researched what clones they were using in Bordeaux, like Chateau Margaux and the other places, and nice wineries in California. And we chose those particular clones. Were they the right ones? I don't know. They seem to work for us. So that's how we picked our clones. And over the years, we have changed. We've had this upper vineyard is 4.5 acres. This used to all be white wines. We were not happy with the quality of our white wines. It does not get cool enough here in the evenings in the summertime to promote the flavor and the acidity that we need in the grapes. So now we're over just about 1 acre of white wines is all we have up here. It's a much better area that we feel for reds. And we keep continuing to try different varieties that might work here. A lot of the other vineyards who are coming in new are planting varieties most people never even heard of. Cabernet might be an old variety. It's not going to be around anymore. Syrah, very, very tough one to grow. I don't know if anybody else is growing it down here. A lot of it's been pulled out. It doesn't yield a lot. Makes great wine, but it's a very finicky grower. There's a lot of problems with Syrah. And the other varieties, maybe just because I like them. Maybe just because I like Chardonnay. Maybe because I just like Sauvignon Blanc. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe just by luck.
And most of the people that watch this show, even though it is available on streaming live, they're from Arizona or they're familiar with Arizona. And so your wines will end up having a taste of Arizona in some regard and in some way. And so do you think Cabernets do well? I know the climate here, some years it's rainy, some years it's hot, some years it's... So tell me a little bit about how you manage. It's just a year by year and you make your game plan every year?
Every year is different. It starts off in the spring. We get bud break generally in our vineyard the last week of March. Some varieties are earlier, like Chardonnay's early, Viogniers early, followed by the lower vineyard, Syrah, Merlot, and some other whites we have down there. We have to worry about frost. Frost is the biggest problem we have here. And I think this year, most people were not affected. We had maybe a 5–10% loss due to that. And we have to accept that every year. We're going to accept that. Some years you have zero. I believe 2016 was 0 frost. 2015, 2014 was probably a higher, 20% frost. And as we head east of here, you might notice if you look out the door, the elevation slopes downward. And as it slopes downward, that's where the cold air goes. So the next winery down the road is 1 mile away. They come out of dormancy about 2 to 3 weeks after we do. We'll have shoots this tall before they even have bud break.
Wow.
And in the fall, we go dormant about 2 weeks after they do. So we have about 5 weeks of growing season more just by being 1 mile away. And every vineyard is different. Everybody has its own little microclimate. And we deal with it every year. We have to deal with the hail. 2010 or 11, I believe, 3 vineyards got completely wiped out. Just everything was taken off the vine.
So we're talking about the different weather conditions, soil and so forth around here, being so close to Mexico. One of the things I think people are always surprised, you often have to repeat, is the elevation here, the altitude. How high is your vineyard?
We're at 4,980 feet. So
wow,
we just round up to 5,000.
Almost a mile high, yeah. So that's good. And with that elevation, it helps you with some of the heat.
Yeah, it's substantially cooler here than it is in Phoenix and in Tucson. So we're about 20 degrees cooler than Phoenix and then about 10 degrees cooler than Tucson. So it's a great time to come in the summer. It's probably our slowest time actually, but it's the best time to come because the grapes are starting to come out. We're getting ready to harvest and it's really cool comparatively speaking, you know. And most people go up north and there's so much traffic and accidents and so much easier to come down south.
We're all aware.
Yeah, I mean, it's so much easier to come south and it's beautiful And there's 14 wineries down here, so you can make a whole week of it if you wanted to.
And we do have the monsoon in effect, which everybody from Phoenix doesn't get a chance to see hardly anymore.
Yeah.
But we're fortunate enough that we have the Phoenix news. So we watch the 10 o'clock news at night, turn it on. We got the doors and windows open going, ooh, get a little chilly in here. And it's still 103 degrees in Phoenix.
Yeah.
So when we get that monsoon coming in, it'll, you know, our typical summer days are upper 80s. You know, we did hit 100 several days because it was the hottest year we've ever had, ever. And the heat is fine for the grapes. Napa Valley gets hotter than we do. People just think, you know, heat's bad. Heat's not bad. You just need the cool evenings. But our evenings in the summertime are usually around 63, 64 degrees at night, which is not, the grapes really enjoy that cool evening. Just not enough for the whites, but we really enjoy the evenings. And when people come down from Phoenix, they're actually chilly. Some of them will have windbreakers on because it's so cool down here. They don't realize that the southern part of Arizona in this area is nice and cool in the evenings.
And it's green. You know, that's something that when, you know, our tourists are always surprised when they come during monsoon and they're like, it's so green, it's so hilly, there's nothing here. It's beautiful.
It is quite beautiful. Now I noticed when we drove in today, they have pickers picking today. So it's getting to be mid-October. And I wanted to talk a little bit about what's your earliest varietal, when do you pick that? And then how late do you go in picking? And are you picking some a little late to do some of your late harvest? Or tell me a little bit about that regimen.
We start picking generally the last week or so of August, and it varies. I believe this year was a really warm summer, so some things came early.
Mid-August is when we started harvesting this year.
We did. We started picking Chardonnay and an orange muscat, another white variety, in mid-August. And for the first time ever, we picked our first rare. We picked Syrah about the 28th or 27th. So the earliest we've picked reds ever is the 28th of August this year. And not only were the grapes ready, but they were very high in sugar this year. They were probably about 28% sugar, where we like to pick around 26.5. So the Syrah came off early, and then right after that was our Primitivo. And that came off about 27, 28% sugar. And that was the first couple days of September. Then it just kind of slowed down. There was just nothing to pick for a little while. And everything ripens at different times. Right now they're picking our latest variety, and that's the Cabernet Sauvignon. We started picking that on our lower property. That was picked about 2 weeks ago. And the upper property, just a little bit cooler. It's taken an extra couple weeks for that to ripen to where we want it. So we don't pick late harvest wines per se. The only thing that we might pick late would be our reserve Cabernet. We'll let those Cabernet grapes stay on the vine just a little bit longer, not necessarily to ripen more, but to get more flavors. As our evenings right now are in the 40s, the grapes don't pick up a lot of sugar. They're not picking up hardly any sugar anymore, but they get more we call it hang time. They're developing more flavors, more concentration out there. So we'll do that for reserve Cabernet, and that's our last thing. And we should be done picking here in the next 4 or 5 days.
Okay.
Yay. And our reserve cab actually is now called Emotional Rescue.
Emotional Rescue.
Yeah.
So speaking of the Emotional Rescue, we should get into their wines. I want to ask you about your tasting room hours and when people can come down and see you. So tell me about that.
Sure. So in our peak season, which is most of the year, we're open Friday through Sunday, 10:30 to 3:30. And then in July and August, we close on Fridays, but we're open from 10:30 to 4 on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay. And are most of the wines available for taste during the course of the year, or do you pick a few each different week, or how does that work?
We have everything available that's ready. So we release typically Thanksgiving weekend. This year we probably won't. We got a little behind. But normally we do new releases right around then. And then it just depends on what we have ready. So if you look at our bottles, they're actually...
Let's do that.
So from 2009 this is. So most of what we're on right now is from 2009. Our whites are 2004. This is the non-vintage. And then our reds are 2009. So it's a really common question in the tasting room. Why would I wait 8 years to release a wine? Because we only released these wines 2 months ago, actually, or 3 months ago, somewhere in there. And the reason for that is that we want it to be ready to drink now. So when you go to the grocery store and you get a bottle of, in fact, I was at Total Wine just a little bit ago, they had a bottle of 2015 Cabernet. That is really, really young, and you really shouldn't be drinking that. Hold on to it for a little while, you know, and so we do that so you don't have to hold on to it. Our Cabernet, you could hold on to for a couple more years, but it's ready now and it's enjoyable now.
That's nice for that. A lot of consumers really enjoy that. I'm looking at, these are beautiful labels. It's actually, it seems to me it's a scene from right here with the moon and the mountains.
So the mountain is actually called the Biscuit.
The Biscuit?
Yeah, it's very iconic to the area. So the picture is actually, the sun is setting on one side, obviously, and then the moon is rising on the other. So it's a beautiful picture that actually does happen.
Very cool, very cool. So who designed these labels? How did you come about these labels?
Well, so we wanted something relatively similar to our last labels, which are these. This is my very last one. So these are our old labels. So they're of the mountains, but it's a monotone kind of thing. And so we want you to look at the bottle and know that it's from Sonoyta. And there's nothing more iconic than the Biscuit for Sonoyta. You see it as you come in from Tucson, you see it as you come in from Tombstone or Sierra Vista. It's very iconic. But I also wanted a pretty label because wholesale demands a pretty label.
Sure.
You know, women buy most wine in the grocery store or at Total Wine, and women by nature, we look at pretty things. And you know, I even do it myself. And so the copper was something that we had talked about for a long time, having copper capsules, which we're switching over to. So we did the copper along the outside.
This is Copper Country.
Yes, yeah, it's also very Arizona. And then I designed the label. We talked about it for a long time, and then I got a local artist from Patagonia, and we designed the label together. And I'm sure that he was at his wit's end with me, because it was like, hey, can we just move this over just a little bit? The color's just a little bit off. Can we? So, but he was fantastic. His name is Greg Whitco, and the labels turned out beautifully.
They did. They're very nice. I want to read a few of them to you, if I may. The first one, Ziggy Stardust, and I don't believe that's a grape. The next one is Layla. The next one is Penny Lane. And I'm thinking there's a theme here. Hard Day's Night. So what was with that? What was with the inspiration for doing the really good songs, by the way?
Well, our tasting room obviously is classic rock, and Chris here is a big Deadhead, and so what I was trying to do was bridge the gap between our tasting room and the design of the label. So our tasting room is super laid back. We're normally listening to classic rock. We've got all these posters. And our label doesn't really show that. We wanted it to be classic, but I also wanted it to be fun. And originally I wanted to do a label that looked more like this poster up behind us, the Pink Floyd one. And for wholesale, you just can't really do that and have a garish label with an expensive price. It just doesn't work. So we were at a concert. We go to a lot of concerts. We were in Phoenix, I think. And I had been trying to convince him to go with a song title. So the first wine that we switched over was actually called Like a Ball and Chain. And we were at a Jackie Green concert, and
We asked the Jackie Green, the lead singer for the band, if he would mind if we'd named a song, a wine after his song. He's like, nope, go ahead.
Very cool.
So we did it, and then that was the first one, and I think he thought that we were just going to do the one, and then And then it was just a fun project. I convinced him, and then we did everything. And Emotional Rescue, of course, was an easy one. And then all the other ones, we try to match the name to the quality of the wine. You know, so the Layla Orange Muscat's sort of a feminine wine. It's not sweet, but it's really fruity. It's like a nice patio wine. And you can't call it, you know, a hard day's night because that's not the kind of wine
nice
it
afternoon.
is. So Layla took us a while to name, but that was the perfect name for it in the end. So
you guys have a lot of inner meaning, a lot of things going on. It's very cool how you weave your life and your product together. I'm looking over here, and this is something you all ought to know about. This is a label that says Pound Hound. What can you tell me about that?
Well, in years past, we've always done an adopt-a-thon for the Humane Society in Santa Cruz, in Nogales. And what ended up happening was our regulars would not attend because they don't want to go home with the dog. So we wouldn't make as much money for them as we wanted to. We used to donate half the wine sales for the weekend to them. And it, you know, it just worked out that it was getting slower and slower because people didn't want to go home with dogs. And so we were in California, and there was a winery that had something similar to this. And we went, oh, that's a great idea. It's no work, makes more money for them, and, you know, and it's cute. And then people get to go home, and we get to immortalize our Bubba, who we lost this month.
So when you buy a bottle of this, money gets donated?
Yep, so the bottle's $30, and so half of that goes to the Humane Society directly. So $15 goes to the Humane Society for every bottle we sell of that.
Very cool.
And so that's, sorry.
It's a year-round thing. It's not just one event, so we sell it year-round in the tasting room.
And that's not the only charity. There's other money that goes to other things. Can you tell us about that?
We donate 10 cents in every bottle that we sell out of the winery to the American Cancer Society.
Very cool.
I'm sure most people know somebody or have a relative who's been affected by cancer. It's a really nasty thing. We need to get it taken care of. And I know 10 cents on a bottle is not a lot, but it's a start. And if everybody donated just a few dollars every year, we could probably get this thing taken care of.
Very good. I have a question that I try to ask on most of the episodes that we do, and that is, if you were, and it doesn't matter today, tomorrow, but on any given day, you might say, today sounds like a good day for this wine and a certain food, whether it be a snack or an entree, a salad, whatever. I would like you, if you don't mind, I know it's on the spot, but pick a bottle and then tell me, this wine and I have a ham sandwich. This is a perfect pairing. Yeah.
Well, actually, on every bottle of wine that we sell, we give you a description of the wine and what to pair it with.
Very
So
good.
when you go to the store, you pick it up, cool, crisp, pair with whatever. So we do it with every bottle. And since I'm not wearing glasses, if she wants to read, I can't see a whole lot without that.
So our Ziggy Stardust is a Viognier Chardonnay, and we suggest that you pair it with chicken or scallops. And then when you come into the tasting room, and if you ask me something, you know, we're gonna have dinner tonight, what should we have with this? I'll tell you something more specific. Like with our Layla, I normally say, which is an orange muscat, it's dry but very fruity. I normally say to do it with like a chicken and a mango chutney. Something like that would be really good with that. Or of course our cab, dead and red. Anything dead and red is perfect to go with the cab.
Syrah, leg of lamb, lamb chops.
Yep.
And then we have our dessert style wines, which vary immensely. The Shadow is a very complex blend of 5 different varieties of over 7 different years in that one bottle.
Wow.
And, you know, chocolate brown, anything chocolate, but not sweet chocolate. It's got to be
Dark chocolate.
dark chocolate, a little bit of bitterness to counter the sweetness. And then the other wines with different types of desserts. So everything is different. Maybe our cabs, we can say our estimated profit, which is our Cab Merlot blend, maybe a ribeye, prime rib, something a little fat on it. When we move on to our bigger wine, our reserve cab, like a filet, doesn't need to have that fat on it.
So how will these people, if they are interested now in coming down, and they should, how do they get a hold of you?
Well, you can find us on Facebook at Rancho Rossa Vineyards. We also have a website, which is ranchorossa.com. That has our most up-to-date everything on it. You can call and make an appointment if you've got 8 or more people. You call me, or you can send me an email, or anything works. We're pretty easy with that.
They can look for Sonoma, Arizona wineries, Google it.
Oh yeah,
Will pop up.
There's actually our, speaking of which, our Chamber of Commerce actually has a fantastic new website, and all of the wineries are listed for the area. And there are very few places where every single winery is listed, and our chamber did a fantastic job with that.
Great.
So.
Great, because it's quite rural out here. This street is perfect because there's a lot of them in a row. But you should come and enjoy. I would also like to thank the crew and obviously you. Thank you very much for giving us your time and giving us your tasting room for a few minutes. And talk to the folks. I would like to tell you that if you're interested in this episode or any other episodes, you can reach us at prescottmediacenter.org/wine101. And if you go there, it'll bring up a menu where you can actually select any and all of the different episodes that we have done, going way back when. So it's available online, streaming, and we hope you enjoyed this. We certainly have, and looking forward to seeing you guys on the road.